Welcome to the Pink Pineapple Podcast, where we peel back femtech and take a bite out of more than just the juicy bits.
I'm Claudia, and I'm Emma's partner in Pineapple for this adventure.
And I'm Emma. Together, we're exploring women's health across the full timeline, from first periods to menopause and everything in between.
Each week, we'll dive into the stories, science, and software shaping the future of women's health. From hormones to hardware, fertility to femtech founders.
Think of us as your slightly nosy best friends who just happen to be doctors with a healthy curiosity for innovation.
We'll be chatting to clinicians, creators, and changemakers. And yes, asking the questions you actually want answered.
So whether you're out for a walk, cooking dinner, or hiding from your to-do list, join us as we get curious, clinical, and occasionally controversial.
This is the Pink Pineapple Podcast,
where women's health meets what's next.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pink Pineapple Podcast. And today, we're actually quite lucky to have the fabulous Jas, co-founder of the teen health and wellbeing app, Luna. Hello, Jas. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we are super excited to have you on, Jas. I think I was explaining before we started recording that when we were thinking about doing kind of our first episode and an episode that was about kind of teen health and puberty, your offering immediately came to mind. So it'd be really great if you could tell us a bit more about Luna for our listeners that might not have heard of it.
Wait, Emma, I need to do my pineapple.
Oh my gosh,
it's time for the pineapple. She just whizzed right over.
I just whizzed
the highlight
pineapple.
The highlight of my day. Everybody's been looking forward to this. I wanted to show you today's pineapple, and I will describe today's pineapple also. This is today's pineapple. I'm hoping, Jas, for you, you see, she's doing it. She's doing the hands for anybody listening.
This means nothing to me.
The pineapple has got a 6 and a 7 and a menstrual pad. Yeah, she's doing the hands. She's doing the hands. So 6, 7, but you're meant to say it in a specific way. 6,
7.
There's no way to
6,
say it. So those of us with pre-teens and teens, I was saying to Emma before, she was looking at me like I was absolutely mad.
Like, I'm just thinking state pension age. This is it's just depressing me. Like,
I don't actually understand it, but do you understand it, Jas? Any ideas?
It's a great question because I don't understand it either. So I put it to the teenagers, put it to my ambassadors, and I was like, guys, what does this 6, 7 business mean? And they told me, it means nothing. It's just something that we say or that we do. Sometimes if we just see a 6, 7, so like the 67 bus, or if our playing cards say 6, 7, or if we just feel like saying it. So it literally doesn't mean anything. So don't worry, guys, we've not missed out on anything. It's just their humour. It's just the Gen Alpha humour.
It's the goal. It's their exam score goal, which really upsets me because 67, you know,
you just flipping that round.
I don't know, guys.
Like, minimum.
Can't we just be like 98? You know, because that's a great, score to aim for. But yeah, thank you for explaining that there is no logic to it, because that's
fine. Well, I'm even happy that I got that right, like straight in. I feel like that could be the end of the podcast, guys. I am. When people ask for product market fit, there we go. If you don't know
completely wrapped.
Thank you for explaining that to us.
That
now,
was so
Emma,
funny.
No, sorry. Yeah. So back to business. If you could, Jas, in a nutshell, for our listeners that haven't come across Luna, explain what Luna is.
Yes. So in a nutshell, we are the trusted companion app for preteens and teens to support them through adolescence. So helping families navigate the physical changes, emotional changes, and mental changes that come through this time. You can think of us like a bit of a big sister in your pocket, all co-created with experts, and a safe space to ask questions and get expert-backed responses, to start tracking your moods and your emotions and forming healthy habits, and then to explore through expert-curated content as well. So that's a bit about us.
Lovely. And so with that kind of target audience in mind, what are the kind of common questions that you kind of get in, or what are the kind of common worries that some of users are experiencing?
In fact, I think we've got a few examples from some of your app users we can share.
What age do you normally get your first period?
How can I get better mental health?
How do I deal with exam stress and time organisation?
How do I get clear skin?
How can you tell when someone likes you?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's important to say, like, our first sort of focus for Luna has been teen girls. But for any listeners out there with sons, don't worry, that is definitely on our agenda as well some point in the future. But I think that's important in terms of context for the types of questions we're getting. So we've had over 5,000 questions in Luna to date, and 1 in 4 of those questions has actually been about periods. And if you can think back to like younger you, like that first period is such a nerve-wracking moment. Like, what's it going to feel like? Where am I going to get it? What do I do? And we really get a lot of questions about periods, and sort of drilling down one step deeper, a lot about first periods as well. Like, they really want exact answers. Like, they want Luna to be able to predict when their first period will come. And we're like, guys, like, no app can do that. Like, that is down to your own body. Like, yes, there'll be signals, but there is no magic formula. So we do get a lot of questions about first periods. Once people have got their first period, we then see a lot of questions around irregular periods as well. So, I had it this month, but I haven't had it for 3 months. What does this mean? Am I pregnant? I've never had sex. And we're like, no, like, try to explain to them that actually it can take a bit of time for a teen's body to actually regulate. But equally, it's really important for us to teach them what the red flags are if it continues being irregular, and when to have conversations with your doctor or with your parent. And then moving beyond periods, we get a lot of questions around friendships and anxiety around friendships. Sadly, a lot around like weight loss as well, and like body image and body positivity. And then as a fourth bucket, skin. So skin is massive. I don't think it was something like I was so obsessed with when I was a teenager. I'm very lucky I didn't suffer from acne, but I also think I didn't grow up in the era of phones and social media and unrealistic expectations. And we really get a lot of questions around wanting to have perfect skin or glass skin, black hairs, and how to cure acne and things like that. So really, we get quite a lot, as you can tell. But those are the sort of 4 key buckets that we get often.
Yeah, I was definitely obsessed with all of those things. And actually, I'm reliving it again now with my eldest daughter, who's preteen. She's approaching her 13th birthday, and her friends have started. When am I? She hasn't. She has loads of questions. Definitely lots of stuff about body image really coming through in a big way. My daughter doesn't really use social media, for example. She's not really got Instagram or Facebook or anything like that yet, but she's on YouTube and she's seeing loads of things, loads of shorts, and is already starting to get all these preconceived ideas around beauty and about body shape and, what's attractive, what isn't. So yeah, it's really, I think it's very good to know that there's a place that they can go that is a safe space to ask these questions without any, agenda, really.
Totally. And I think so with Luna, with our Q&A feature, unlike many other apps where it's very one-to-one and it's you and a bot or you and a companion, we actually post the questions back a bit like Reddit style for other members to see. Now, they can't comment on each other's posts or anything, but being able to read like, hey, I'm not the only one like worrying about my thighs or worrying about, my skin. And it kind of gives them that sense of normalization and actually like I'm not isolated. And I think that is a really unique proposition for Luna, and that you just want to know you're not the only one worrying about this at that age. So yeah, that's why we've sort of kept it as this sort of Reddit style forum for people to read and to realize that they're not the only one experiencing it.
What are some of the core features of Luna? So there is a period tracking element, so girls can track their periods with it month by month. And then what are the parts?
Yeah, so like you said, we've got that period tracking feature, and actually it's a real like stripped back feature made specifically for preteens and teens, like focused on this age group. So we asked them, what are your biggest concerns? And it's literally like remembering my period supplies, like trying to figure out when I'm going to get it. Will I be swimming? Will I be going dancing? And yeah, we basically built this tracker based on that experience, rather than like the older women who might be trying to have a baby or manage perimenopause or whatever that might look like. So yes, we have this dedicated teen period tracker. And from this, we're able to overlay like their emotions and start sending them like nudges to help form like healthy habits as well. So really trying to be quite proactive as well with explaining like why they might be feeling a certain way or why they might want to do something. So yeah, the period tracker. Then we have Ask Luna, which is this Ask Luna feature that I just mentioned to you now, the space where a teen can ask an anonymous question and get an expert-backed response. And they can also read what other people are asking as well. And to be honest, this was very much inspired from the magazine. So if you remember Glamour, Cosmopolitan, like 17, the back of the magazines where you'd read all the tampon stories or the friendship stories. Well, it's really
you'd go there first, wouldn't you? Isn't that where you started?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Who cares about the first few pages? And that's exactly what Luna is, really, like that modern day version, except we are vetted and created by experts, not just a random columnist who's responding to your dramas. And then we have content as well. So we drop content daily, editorial style, so finger on the pulse with what's trending and myth busting, and then obviously we've got the foundational stuff, and then tied together is it's all gamified with points and quizzes to really support like learning and like good behaviors as well. That's our app at the moment, but we've got lots of cool ideas in the pipeline as well, but that's very much the sort of crux of what we're building.
So you just touched there, Jas, on kind of myths and common kind of misconceptions, I suppose, when it comes to teen health. I suppose that's kind of amplified, isn't it? Or certainly kind of accelerated with social media. So it'd be really good to know kind of what your take is on kind of the quality of the information that people at that age are accessing on social media platforms when it comes to their health and their bodies, and kind of is there anything that we could be doing about that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question because it was only like this, I think it was yesterday, I saw something that said a third of parents are actually relying on social media themselves for parenting hacks and parenting information. So not necessarily about puberty, but just in general, like, you know, how to look after my child or like when to feed my child and things like that. And so all this to say there is clearly like good information out there on social media. Maybe it's relatable stories or things that have worked for people, which is great. But I think the issue with social media is that it's not always vetted, but also from a search perspective, which many teens are using social media to search now. So not like Google, which is probably what we do. They go straight to TikTok and will search. The stuff that's ranking on the top isn't the stuff that is always the most trusted, like Google. It's actually the stuff that maybe looks the best or sounds the best or has been created by the influencer with the most followers. And so therefore it's very hard for people to be able to tell like fact from fake, really. And I think it can be even harder when someone is talking so confidently about something and saying like, hey, I lost all this weight by taking these pills and you can now buy it on the TikTok shop, which is crazy. So like to double click into some of the questions teens have been asking us on Luna about stuff they've seen online, something we see all the time is it true that bee pollen supplements can help my breasts grow quicker? Because I've seen it on TikTok, and on TikTok shop you can actually buy these supplements, which is crazy. And I don't think what they realize is like TikTok influencers, you make money if they sell products, but you know, you'll know as doctors, like that is just not true, and that your breasts will just grow in their own time, and some will be big and some will be small, and bee pollen won't do anything. So I think it's really, really hard. And there is just some stuff that's out there where I'm just sitting there like, this is wild. Like there was a trend that was going around, you know, telling teens that if they don't shed their skin every month on their period, then they're not normal. But actually what it was a joke where people were trying to trick their partners into like saying, I'm having my monthly skin shed. And we were getting loads of innocent teens being like, oh my God, I don't shed my skin. Like, am I not normal? So yeah, I mean, for us as the older, like as old elders, we know that's not true. But yeah, as like innocent teenagers, if you're like, my God, my school didn't teach me this or whatever it is. So yeah, it's a bit of a wild west out there, to be honest. It's hard. We've gone from this era of not much information, this era of like misinformation.
To just tons. Yeah, just absolutely tons and tons of information and not knowing what's real, what's not real. Yeah, for sure. It's really difficult. I remember, I don't know what your education was like, what your period education, sex education was like, but I remember mine so distinctly. I remember it being like, can the girls stand up, please? Okay, come with me. And we all looked at each other, we were like, oh, it's time.
It's time.
It's time for the talk. And we sat and they literally took out a cup full of water. They put some kind of like Super Max, I don't know, kind of tampon in there. The thing went like this, like completely filled up the glass, and we all went, and then that was about it. And then they sent us on our way with like a pad that the boys then stole from us and stuck like all around the classroom. And that was it. That was our period education. That was also our sex education, I think, all in one.
I know.
So I think things have gotten better in that respect. I don't know. What are you hearing from the girls?
Honestly, I don't know how much better it's got. And I think that it's very varied depending on what school you go to. And I think what the government, I know what the government have is guidelines, and it's down to the school to then interpret the guidelines as they wish. I think some schools obviously have great pastoral systems where, they have these great nurses and talks. But I would still question, how timely are these talks? You typically get these talks when you're 11 or 12. What if you get your period when you're 15 or 16 years old? And equally, this anonymous piece is so important. Like, we need to remember, like, we talk about periods and discharge really openly because, we're in health tech and that's fine. But for teenagers, for many people, that's hard and they are embarrassed. And Luna is anonymous. And I think for that reason, they do express themselves. So I think this piece around timeliness is really important, and relevancy. And then, it being like anonymous is just something that schools can't always give. And then the other thing we've heard is like the curriculum doesn't really always teach me like the practicalities of what I need to. I think some are still very much teaching the foundations, and when you're being introduced to all these new concepts on TikTok and stuff, like, I think that's maybe where tech comes in and can like move quite quickly. At least we see like Luna playing a role there to like supplement above what like education is giving at the moment. So from what I hear from the teens and the way that they're using Luna, I don't know how much it's changed, to be honest, but I do think it's a very school by school, maybe even country by country approach as well.
Yeah, probably.
So you were kind of touching there, Jas, that these are kind of topics that some people, they just find at that age really uncomfortable to talk about, not only amongst their friends, but also with their parents.
Definitely.
So I suppose with regards to Luna, can parents access that information? Are they able to see the content that their children are looking at? Are they able to kind of work with them on the app? How does that work with Luna for parents?
It's a very good question. We've really gone back and forth with what to do here, especially this year when we started to focus on engaging more with parents. I think going back to this point around Luna being anonymous and this sort of safe space, it's very much the reason I think why teens use it, because it is sort of judgment free, and like no one's going to see what articles you're clicking on or what questions you're reading. But that said, having now worked more closely with parents, like parents they want to be able to help their teen, and they have a vested interest obviously in making sure they're having the right conversations with them. So as it stands at the moment, we don't play back what the teen is asking or reading or tracking, just to keep that sort of privacy piece. But we share insights to parents based on like what different cohorts on teens are asking and reading and thinking about at the moment via email. But I actually think there's a huge product update we could do around how we can actually support parents as well, based on the insights we have, because it really is a goldmine of insights, but also because I think parenting teenagers in 2025 is just very, very different. And we're getting parents asking us like, how can I approach the topic of gender or sexuality? Because it just wasn't something we were talked about or no. So I actually think there's just a huge opportunity for us there to do more. And we definitely see parents sometimes using the Ask Luna feature because we're like, we know a teen doesn't write like this. Like, this is definitely. So yeah, as it stands, it is quite separate, but we do see an opportunity to do more to help parents have that conversation. But we always have to be mindful of not breaching that trust with the teenage, because we really have done a great job at doing that so far.
Do you see a difference between kind of what parents think that teens want, or that the knowledge that the teens want, and what they actually need? Does that make sense? Do you know if I'm making sense? So is the expectation that the parents think that teens want to know about something when really actually it's more that
they want to know about something else?
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to my team about this to get like the right sort of insights, and I think two common things came up. One, perhaps parents don't have as much empathy for like some of the mental health questions and feelings and experiences that young people are going through today, simply because parents didn't have to do education through COVID, and they didn't grow up with phones and the impacts of that. And I think teens say to us, like, I just wish my parent could understand like what that feels like, or those additional pressures that could bring. So I think there's maybe a slight gap there, and it's true, we probably will never understand, because we were on the brick phones and not on smartphones, and had credit which would run out very quickly. And I think the second thing is, we hear it a lot where parents often say to us like, well, I think my daughter can talk to me about anything. We've got a really open dialogue. But actually, when you look at the questions on Luna, which you can go and do after this call, we get so many questions saying, how do I tell my mum I started my period? Or how can I tell my mum about I'm feeling anxious? And so Luna is like, when we say a big sister, it's because we're like this gateway between the two. And we're like, look, your mum had a period, may have her period still. Like, she would have had that first experience too, like go and ask her about it, or go and have the, or this is how to do it, like sit next to her maybe at dinner or at TV. And so I think there is also a disconnect there with parents thinking, yeah, I'm available all the time, and they'd ask me, but then teens also being like, I don't actually know how to have these conversations or when to have these conversations. But that's okay, because that's why Luna exists. So so yeah, I think those are probably like the two key things. So I guess that doesn't address your question directly, but gives some themes there.
Yeah, no, really helpful. So I suppose the other thing that often comes up when we are thinking about health tech and about apps, particularly apps where people are inputting things about themselves, is kind of data and data security. And kind of, as you were saying, the teens sometimes feeling that kind of worry to open up. How do you make Luna an environment where they feel safe and they trust the platform and they're open to giving you that data?
Yeah, definitely. So I think upfront we are like, well, first of all, we don't actually take any private information or identifiers about the teenager. So, they're not having to give us their name or anything like that. And so upfront, they're already like, okay, well, I'm not having to expose who I am. And for us, we just want to take as little data as possible on the individuals. So I think there's that. And then obviously when we have had to take something like an email address, which is probably the only identifier that we take, it's just explaining that it's just to get an email to verify your account. So I think transparency, but transparency in a way that teens understand, not in a way where it's just like a bunch of terms and conditions and you just scroll through and that's it. I think on onboarding, we really explain like who's behind the app, how we're doing things, who's it's been co-created with, what you do with what we're doing with your data, and why we're helping you track things and stuff. So I think transparency. And then I think Joe and I, as co-founders, have been at the forefront of this brand and will continue to do that. So they can see like, actually, they have got my best interests at heart and the reasons for doing this. And I think parents are also bought into the fact that it's two women also building this really for like younger them as well. And again, we have all of our data policies transparently online. If someone ever comes to us with a question, we're ready to go with like how we're looking after data and how we're looking after the information about their teenagers as well. So yeah, I just think transparency and being honest from the jump, and that is something we will never compromise on.
So one of the really interesting things that you and I were chatting about the other week was around this AI tool that you are building at the moment to try and help answer teens' questions. What is the basic premise of that? Like how do you see that working? And I guess how much of a challenge is that as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. 2 years ago when we launched Luna, I mean, AI wasn't even a thing, guys. We weren't using ChatGPT or anything like that. So we actually had a big team of medics, answering these questions, reviewing these questions, and then we would send them back to the teenagers. And then over time, we've built this huge bank of 65,000 questions. About 75% of them are almost the same question that we always get asked. And so essentially what we've been able to build is a question matching system using Luna's data. So it pulls from Luna's data set rather than open source. So it's not pulling from like Reddit or TikTok or Google. All the answers are being pulled from any pre-existing questions that have all gone through medical review. So basically that's what we have been building in the background, and we basically put like systems and guardrails in place to pick up if someone's mentioned a specific symptom, we'll match it to that question. So it's not just on a vague and random basis. And as you can imagine with AI, it needs continuous refining, spot checking. And so we still have like medics reviewing questions for us to make sure that we're always using like the latest answers, constant audits to make sure we're giving like the best match response. And where we don't have an 100% match response, we still have the medics now responding to the questions and then feeding into our model. So eventually we do want to get to 100% AI model, but right now it's powering our responses. And man, it's learning very quickly. And I think because we started from such clean, vetted data, it's been easier to create high quality responses and to create a high quality model, if that makes sense, because it's only reading off Luna's tone of voice, Luna's way of responding to things. It's all age appropriate and geared toward teenagers versus other AI apps out there, which are built towards everyone and anyone, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really great and it makes perfect sense because I think it's an efficient thing to do when, yes, most of the questions are very, very similar and a lot of the responses you already have. But I think what people underestimate is we're so used to just using ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. Like, we're so used to just doing it and using it. But I think it's underestimated how complex it is to have your own tool, especially when it deals with health information, like health
Definitely.
questions and health data. It's so arduous to review it, to make sure that it's giving the right answers, to audit it exactly as you said, to keep it up to date. It's actually a really, I mean, it is a big job.
Huge. I mean,
Yeah.
for context, we've started to get teenagers actually check answers they've got on ChatGPT with Luna. So we had one in last week, which was like, hey, Luna, ChatGPT told me to use Head and Shoulders to cure my fungal acne. And anyway, I didn't realize it had tea tree in it. And then my skin has started like burning. Like, what do we do? And we were like, okay, you need to book an appointment. Stop using Head and Shoulders, and like, you need to go and speak to a GP like immediately. But like, fungal acne is something that actually needs to be medicated. Like, you know, not at home sorcery. So yeah, it's really sad that people are starting to self-medicate at home or self-treat at home because of these AI tools, when actually just sometimes you need to go and speak to a pharmacist or a doctor or someone to get like actual medical help.
Yeah,
And that's the
for
message we should be
sure.
getting out to people.
Yeah, for sure. They're so convincing. Like they're so convincing as tools because they feel like people that are thinking and
Well,
rationalizing and
they tell
giving
you what
you.
you want to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Like, if you use it
so.
from a therapy perspective, you know, they're
Yeah,
trained to
for
make you feel
sure.
good and not challenge you. And it just gives you what you want to hear. And don't get me wrong, I use ChatGPT like a lot for work. But yeah, I don't know, you put in some friendship scenarios sometimes and it'll just be like, yeah, you're so in the right. And actually,
Yeah,
I know I'm in the wrong.
yeah. I totally agree. It kind of validates, doesn't it? Validates certain
Exactly.
things, and yeah, I agree so much. But yeah, I think it's great. I love the sound of this that you're building. So it's very cool.
Yeah. I was
Thank
just
you.
going to ask a question that it'd be helpful to know. So, for example, you mentioned safeguards. If someone was to input something into the app, which is quite worrying,
Yeah.
or they were to flag as, for example, risk of self-harm,
Yeah.
is there an escalation in place, or is there a way of dealing with that?
Yeah, so because we don't take any of the personal information, we can't escalate to a parent or to a teacher. But I guess AI in the background is able to pick up, like, look, you're searching something quite dangerous, or you've asked something quite dangerous, like you do need to you need to call 999, or you need to speak to a helpline. And so we surface like a pop-up which does say like, Luna isn't a crisis service. Here's a list of like resources, and we strongly encourage to speak to someone immediately. And so that's the parting line that we've taken, basically. And because we had all these manual responses and triage at the start, we've been able to teach our model to pick up like all the different variations of what teens use for self-harm, because they're smart. They use like different acronyms and words and emojis, and our model can pick this up, which other models can't.
Yeah, that's so
So
clever,
yeah, we're
isn't it?
doing our best as much as possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've learned so much about Luna today. It's so nice to see that you are supporting these, young women at the beginning of their kind of women's health journey, really. And so we definitely want to keep in touch and see what you're doing. And it'd be really helpful for you to just let listeners know, where can they find out more about Luna? Where can they find more about you? Where can they follow you? Those kind of things, because I'm sure there'll be lots of people who'll be wanting to keep an eye on what you're doing.
Amazing. Well, if you've liked what we're building, then please consider a subscription for any teens around you. And you can find out more about the product and us on @WeAreLuna app on Instagram and TikTok, if you're cool enough to be on there. Or our website, normally
6767
67 right now. Or our website, www.weareluna.app. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been amazing to be on the podcast. And yeah, thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk about Luna.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
You're the best, and best of luck with everything.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you. See you later.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for being here. We love having you with us on this journey through women's health and innovation.
Follow us on Instagram at the Pink Pineapple Podcast for clips, conversations, and the latest in women's health and femtech.
We'll see you next week. Same pineapple, new topic. Everything we talk about on the Pink Pineapple podcast is here to inform and inspire, but it's not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you're worried about your health, please reach out to your GP or healthcare provider.